Hello guys, welcome back to Ride on Academia. We are still on our series on the annuity. In our previous video, we looked at the future value of annuity, right? So in this particular video, we are going to be looking at the present value. By the present value, we mean that amount of money we need to invest today if we are going to be able to get that stream of cash flow or that stream of income coming in the future. All right, we're trying to see that amount we need to invest today if we must be able to get a particular series of payment. Okay, and talking about annuity, like we said, we're talking about regular payment, right? The same amount of payment at regular interval, regular period of time. All right, so in the previous video we looked at what our future value will be if we keep investing the same amount of money at a regular period of time, which could be at the beginning or at the end of the year, right? Now in this particular video, we're going to be looking at that amount we need to invest, okay, so that we can be having that future regular payment. We're looking at like the reverse. Okay, we're now looking at the present value, the amount we need to invest today if we need to keep having a future return, a regular return. Okay, now let's assume for instance that a person wants to be earning, let's say, 5,000 naira yearly as cash flow. Okay, want to receive 5,000 naira yearly, or the plan is that you want to be receiving 5,000 naira. Maybe you are owing a loan that you need to pay. All right, or you want to have a fixed amount coming in every year, okay, as either your cash flow. All right, a fixed amount coming in every year as your cash flow. So let's say you are expecting 5,000 naira to be coming into you every year as your cash flow. Okay, and then we are having that the interest rate, okay, our interest rate, let's use 10%, an interest rate of 10%, and we want this money to keep coming for 3 years. All right, we want this money to keep coming for 3 years. Now the question is, how much should we invest today? Are we there now? How much should we invest today at 10% interest to be able to be having a regular cash flow for 3 years of 5,000 naira? Okay, that means we are looking for the present value. All right, now just like the future value, right, even the present value can be solved in two ways. Okay, just like the future value, we can solve present value, okay, under two methods. That is where payment is made at the beginning of the year and where payment is made at the end of the year, like we said, right? So in this case, we're going to be also applying, okay, if the payment is to be made, okay, the payment of this money is to be made to you at the beginning of the year, okay, or if it is to be made at the end of the year. Okay, and those methods also have different formulas. Okay, so we're going to be solving this using the two methods. Now let's assume that we want to receive payment at the end of the year. Now let's say we want to receive payment at the end of the year. Like the question we are asking is, how much should we invest today, right? We're looking at no longer the future value. The future value is saying how much are we going to have, okay, total. Now we're asking ourselves, how much should we invest today, given this interest, so that we can be able to be earning this amount of money constantly for the given period of time, which in this case we say is 3 years. Okay, we want to be able to be collecting 5,000 naira every year. And I say for the first illustration, it should be the end of the year, right? So we want to collect 5,000 naira every end of the year for 3 years. Okay, so how much should we invest at 10% interest rate to be able to achieve this amount of cash flow, okay, or this amount? All right, so the formula for our present value, no longer our future value, right? The formula for our present value in this case, we still have our annuity. Now we're multiplying by 1 minus 1 plus r raised to the power of minus n. It's just like a reverse, okay, of the future value formula, right? The future value, we're having 1 plus r raised to power n minus 1. Here is the reverse. All right, so we are having the reverse formula in this case, where payment is to be made at the end of the year. Now the amount of money that we want to be receiving, that's our annuity, that constant amount we want to be receiving as cash flow, is 5,000 naira. So we have imputed that in our formula. Our one is constant. Now our one plus our r, we have 10%, right? Our interest rate is 10%, so we are using 0.1. And then our minus n, like I said, our n is for 3 years, right? The minus is from the formula. And then we are dividing by r, which is 0.1. So our present value, we have our annuity here to be 5,000 naira. This is the money we want to be receiving constantly, right? Now we have 1 minus 1 plus 0.1. We are having 1.1 raised to power minus 3 over 0.1. Now let's solve further. We are having 5,000 naira. Now we have our one. We have 1.1, okay? 1.1 raised to power minus 3, okay? We'll be raising our 1.1 raised to power minus 3 to give us 0.7513, all right? Divided by 0.1. So now that we have expanded this bracket, right, we can now subtract this from 1, or we can now subtract this from 1 before we divide, all right? So we're going to be having, for our present value, we are still having our annuity amount 5,000 naira. Now 1 minus 0.7513 will give us 0.2487, all right? Divide by 0.1, all right? Now we are having 0.2587 divided by 0.1, right? So our present value will be giving us 5,000 naira multiplied by what? 2.487, all right? Now when we multiply this amount, we'll be having a present value of 12,435 naira, all right? That means if we invest this money, this is the amount of money we need to invest at 10% interest rate, okay? At 10% interest rate, to be able to be collecting a cash flow of 5,000 naira at the end of every year for 3 years, okay? Now for the other side, okay, like I said, there are two methods, right? So this is the present value where payment is made at the end of the year. We also have the present value where payment is made at the beginning of the year, okay? So we're going to be looking at that formula very quickly. So for where payment is to be made at the beginning of the year, our present value formula will also be different, all right? Now, so for the beginning of the year, our present value formula is the same annuity, right? That amount we want to be receiving, that cash flow. Then for our bracket, we're having 1 plus r minus 1 plus r raised to power minus n in bracket minus 1, all right? And then we are dividing through by r, all right? So we are having a lot of bracket in this case, right? We are having the first bracket, another bracket that is having a raised to power, and then raised to power another bracket, okay? So we're going to be working everything step by step, all right? So we are still using the same amount of money, like I said. We are expecting a cash flow of 5,000 naira, in this case at the beginning of the year for 3 years, okay? And then we want to calculate, okay, how much should we invest today at 10% interest rate to be able to be getting that cash flow, that return, that regular return of 5,000 naira every year, okay? Now, so let's input in our formula. We are still having 5,000 naira for our annuity, all right? Now we are having 1 plus r, that's 1 plus 0.1, which is for our r. And then we are subtracting 1 in bracket, okay, for here 1 plus 0.1 raised to the power of minus our n is 3, okay, 3 minus 1, all right? We work 3 minus 1 and then bring in the minus in the front, all right? And then we are dividing by 0.1. So that will give us 5,000 naira. Now 1 plus 0.1 is giving us 1.1. 1 plus 0.1 is giving us 1.1, and then we are subtracting 1 plus 0.1 in another bracket, right? That is still going to be giving us 1.1, but this one is raised to the power a negative power, right? So we are having 3 minus 1 in the bracket, okay? That is giving us 2. 3 minus 1 is giving us 2, and then 2 multiplied by the minus, we are having minus 2, all right? And then dividing by 0.1. All right, so we have 1.1. Now 1.1 raised to the power of minus 2 will give us 0.8264, all right? So now we can subtract, all right? Let me remove this bracket, right? So this is 1.1 minus 0.8264, and then we'll divide by r, which is 0.1. So our present value, we are having 5,000 naira for the annuity. For our bracket, we're having 1.1 minus 0.8264, all right, to give us 0.2736. We are still dividing by the denominator, right, which is 0.1, all right? That's our interest rate. So our present value is giving us 5,000 naira. Now 0.2736 divided by 0.1 will be giving us 2.736. All right, and then lastly it means we are going to be multiplying our interest. Okay, we'll be multiplying 2.736 by 5,000 naira to give us 13,680 naira. Okay, that is where payment is made at the beginning of the year. All right, so with this we have come to the end of our series on annuity. Don't forget to like this video if it was helpful to you, subscribe to this channel if you haven't, and turn on the notification button so that when new videos drop you'll be notified immediately. Lastly, don't forget to share our video with as many as you can. We'll see you in our next class. Thank you.